Pantry Studio production.
The following may contain strong language and deals with adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I will be the last to fall. I won't shed a tear for them to see. I won't have your name to call, 'cause I will be the last to fall.
With over 24% of the 1.9 billion square acres in America alone, the mountains that so many people call home are also host to some of the most incredible mysteries in the world. The missing, the murdered, strange creatures, unexplained lights, and sightings of unidentified objects. These stories may be strange, they may be sad, they may be odd, but they are mysterious. These are the Mountain Mysteries Gatherings. And now, live from the Pantry Studio, broadcast to all time zones around the world, with listeners of the podcast in the United States, Canada, Germany, Norway, India, the United Kingdom, and more. These are the Mountain Mysteries Gatherings. Now, your host, Chris Sloan.
You know, doing radio commercials for 20 years, that was nothing. It was fun. Doing audiobooks, that was interesting. Long-winded, but interesting. But none of it bears the weight some of this stuff does. You see, with commercials, you got 30 or 60 seconds to tell a story. 15 seconds, it's a blur. But 30 or 60 seconds to tell a story. Normally, that story involves someone trying to convince you to buy a product or a service, trying to convince you the benefits of the product or service, whether you need them or not. Well, an audiobook's a little different. Then you're telling, in many cases, a fictional story. Now, that may not be in all cases, but in many cases, it's a fictional story. Made up by somebody's, the little mouse or the little hamster on the wheel that spins. But these, well, that's a little different. In every single episode that we have done since the debut, March 5th, about April Pennington, then came the Mothman. Many people say, oh, well, the Mothman, maybe that's real, maybe it's not, maybe, I don't know. But I can tell you that the 46 people that died on the Silver Bridge were real. Every one of them. Then Muriel Baldridge, well, she was very real. And so on, and it goes on. And then 3 or 4 weeks ago, Jason Ellis and Kathy and Samantha Netherland, Crystal Rogers, and now here we are concluding this Bardstown thing, hoping to get people interested and hoping maybe somewhere, someday, somebody will look back on this and come forth and say, you know what, I know something about that. It's time somebody came forward. I know who did this. I know what happened. And I'm tired of living in fear all my life. Maybe. And tonight we concluded with Tommy Ballard, who, by the way, was Crystal Rogers' father, her dad. But that didn't just define him alone. That was a big part of it, I'm sure. But he was also husband to Sherry. Countless friends all over the place. Had done business with a lot of people in town. Everything I found on him, stand-up guy. Grandfather. Grandson was right next to him when he got shot and killed. November 19th in a great big old field. I believe that was 16. So it's one thing to do radio commercials for whomever. A lot of you who are personal friends of mine on Facebook, I shared the post that the Kentucky State Police Trooper Island, I was honored to work with them and get the voiceover done for the 2021 raffle on the Camaro. TrooperIsland.org. You can go there and buy tickets for it if you want to. I think they're $10, and you're responsible for tax, title, fee on a 2021 Camaro that does 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. But anyways, that was a lot of fun, and I got to have something kind of lighthearted in between some of these. But we're going from one thing straight to another. And the last 4 episodes have been about nothing but pure, raw tragedy. Police officer, special ed teacher, a high school student, a mom of 5, and now her dad. And after that, next week, Lainey Gwinner. If you've not heard of her, Google it. Trust me, most of you have probably heard of her. Beautiful girl in Cincinnati. Some jacknut decided that he wanted to get into her pants. And when she fought him off and refused, he couldn't commit the crime of sexual assault, so he committed the crime of homicide. Well, how things escalate quickly, you son of a bitch. Sorry for the language and for the kids around, but it says at the beginning, may not be suitable or whatever. That's about as ill-tempered as I'm going to get this evening because, yeah, these things take their toll. But you know what? It's worth doing it. It is. The episode that you're going to hear drop a little bit after midnight tonight, depending upon how you listen to it, whether it's Spotify or Apple or, whatever it may be, because it's on a dozen or better, is going to be about Tommy Ballard. So Tommy was no stranger to tragedy knocking on the front door of the house. It seems that some years ago, his sister went to take her car for a repair. Well, she never made it there. Turned up missing, of course, as does happen. Police get involved. Police are looking for her. They find her in a field and her car in the river. Her husband and some other guy got life for it. I don't even know that life would have been fine with that. I think Eddyville, death row. It's I understand compassion. I understand defense. I understand the love of your family. I get all that, but sometimes I wonder if society's just gotten it's not for me to judge. But in my own personal opinion, if you take a life out of jealousy or anger or whatever that is not justifiable, then you should have the same coming to you. In most cases. I didn't say all, but in many cases. So anyways, Tommy had seen this happen to his sister. And I could not imagine that he could imagine that at the time, some odd years later, he would fall a victim to the same thing, a senseless murder. So let's talk a little bit about Tommy and Sherry. Their kid went missing. Let me get over there to the chat. Yeah, I have to agree with what Tony said. Tony Fairchild, bring back the firing squad. Absolutely. Bring back public hangings, electrocutions, whatever. If you commit death or if you commit the crime of homicide for maybe it's not coming to my mind right now, but the only thing I'm thinking that could justify that is the defense of your child or your own bodily person or your family, your wife, your husband. I get that. Somebody breaks into your house, you got the right to defend your cat. That's what I freaking love about Texas. You go down there and kill somebody, they'll kill you back. Love Texas. Don't get me wrong, I love Kentucky too, but sometimes I just think that the peanut butter's done slid off the cracker for some people. I do believe that. There we go. So, anyways, I welcome every single one of you tonight. And I am so glad to have you here. I really am. I know that it's Thursday evening. It's not quite dark yet, at least Eastern Standard Time. It's about 5 o'clock in the evening on LA or on the West Coast. And I know that we've got listeners and people watching from there too. At least as we're live, it's about a quarter past the hour. Everything, like I said, everything I found on this guy, nothing indicated that he was looking for trouble, except he was trying to find out what happened to his daughter. Now, with every news interview I've watched and with everything I've heard and the people I've talked to, Sherry Ballard, Tommy's wife, Crystal's mom, is thoroughly convinced that these are connected. And you know what? Yeah. I got that feeling. There's no doubt in my mind that the disappearance of his daughter and the murder of he are connected. Tommy and Crystal. There's no doubt about it. I think he was getting, like Sherry, I think he was getting too close to finding out what happened, to finding the truth. The truth will set you free, but it'll also kill you in some cases. That's why this episode that's debuting tonight is called The Father's Love. Is there anything that you wouldn't do for your kids? Husband and spouses. Spouses. I get it. They sometimes they separate. I was so blessed. July 2nd would have made my parents' 55th wedding anniversary. July 1st was my dad's 76th birthday. He always said that was the best birthday present he ever got, was my mom saying yes when he asked her to marry him. Different time, folks. They got married in 66. Different time. Maybe not so much of a different time as different people. So I've struggled with that this over. And don't get me wrong, this is not a pity party. I don't want that. I'm not the only one out there struggling with sadness, grief, doubt, worry, fear. There's so many of you. Matter of fact, I bet every one of you watching this right now, or whether the recorded version later, every one of you have something going on. That's why I keep you in my prayers. As far as I'm concerned, I'm blessed. I've got no reason to feel this way, even though I do. I had them for 47 years, a lot longer than some people. That's a fact. I never had an abusive childhood whatsoever. I had an awesome childhood. Don't get me wrong, I got a hand put to ass when it was due, when I did something that was ridiculous. My dad spoke very straight. My mother was, on the other hand, rest her soul, I love her so much, she would cover me if I'd gone up the road and pulled a Charlie Manson on 30 people. She'd say, oh, he just had a bad day. And the state troopers probably would have been there going, really? That was mom, though. Dad would have said, told you. You did it. Now you got to pay for it. He's the one who taught me, own it. And she's the one that taught me compassion. I bet Tommy was the same way with Crystal. I mean, there's a great bond between a mom and a daughter and a father and a son, yes, but there's something different. That bond is so, I look at my daughter to this day. She's married, 19, be 20 soon. And I still remember the first time I picked her up to feed her. And if she's watching this right now, she'll probably look at me tomorrow and say, really? It's true, though. The first time I picked her to feed her, she curled up in a little ball. I mean, I loved the kid before she got here, but when she got here, it was a level of something that I still can't wrap my head around. I still can't get it. So when people say, do you believe that guy did that? Went out there looking and got himself killed? But number one, he didn't go out there. He wasn't in the field that day looking for his daughter. He was in the field that day to go hunting with his grandchild. But, yeah, I get it. Because there's no way somebody will have to kill me before I stop trying to find justice for my daughter. They would have to. I'm very blessed, though. She's healthy. She's happy. She's alive. I know right where she's at right now. But even though I cannot sympathize with Tommy, because thank God that's never happened to me, I can't empathize with him. The love of a father and a daughter, and this also goes the same way because I experienced this with my mom, between a mother and a son. It's just, if that is just a glimpse of God's love, and I've been told it is, man, it's got to be the most incredible thing on earth, or the most incredible thing in existence. So I get why he would not stop. I mean, the guy was spending money like Caesar's wife. That didn't matter to him. It wouldn't matter to me either. He was going everywhere, putting together search groups, talking to the media. He was the driving force behind this. Not only did Sherry lose her daughter, she lost her husband too. Some of the things you're going to hear in this episode, they're bound to shake you, wake you, make you cry a little even. And, it's not my purpose in any of this to bring tears forth. But it happens. I've said this story before, and I'm just going to give you the short pop version of it. When I finally wrapped the first episode, because that was the first episode of a podcast I'd ever done, and didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. I just thought, well, God will guide me. April will guide me. May 20 plus years of broadcasting experience come to play here. So I got done with it. I sat down and listened to it and just started, I started crying, to be just damn well honest with you, because it brought back things that I knew about April. A lot of it I didn't know, but I remembered her. And it's never stopped yet. And as long as I do this, I suspect it won't. Unless I'm talking about a Bigfoot case or another something. Cryptids don't make me teary-eyed. The loss of a child does. The loss of a parent or grandparent by murder, that certainly does. Hello, Sharon. It's so good to see you. I don't know. I remember hearing about this back in, I think it was November 19th of 2016, when he lost his life. Now, it's bad enough that whoever pulled that trigger pulled it on him because he was trying to find the truth for his daughter. But two things here really stick out to me like a fly in a punch bowl. Number one, this guy did it from a distance that the authorities think that it came from, like the tree line across the. So didn't even approach him, wouldn't look him in the eye and do it. But to do it in front of his grandson. His grandson, who at the time was 11 or 12 years old. Who the hell does that? Tell you who does it. A heartless, cold-blooded son of a bitch is who does it. Probably somebody that got paid. Place the value of life. Let's say probably, I don't know, a couple, 300, 400, maybe I don't know. And who knows what else he got. Don't know. I can only imagine, though. But here we are, some odd years later, and thankfully the Federal Bureau of Investigation got involved. I looked a few evenings ago. They say that they're near the end of the investigation. I'm not poking and I'm not prodding on that, because here's the thing. Like I told you last week, double jeopardy. Y'all got that. When whoever it is that did this, and we all have our suspicions, of course, But remember, in America, and God, this is hard to do sometimes, innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Many of us go out here all day long, and I know I'm guilty of it. You sit there and you think to yourself, I know who friggin' did this. That was so and so. Been guilty of it before. And then maybe something happens that maybe changes, you have a paradigm shift, or it's when, your point of view changes on something. You're like, well, maybe not so much. Truth of the matter is, we've got a guy who was out in the field hunting with his grandson who is no longer breathing. And that reason is simply because I think he was getting really, really super duper close to finding out exactly what happened to his daughter. Wouldn't you want to know? Would you ever stop? You see, I get people like April's mom, Sharon, who won't quit. And I get people like Crystal's dad, Tommy, who won't quit. What I can't get are the people, and maybe it's because they've never been put in that situation, but the people that say, oh, it's been, let's see, 16 to 21 is what, 7 years? It's been 7 years, just let it go. It's been 30 years, just let it go. They can't. They can't let it down. They can't just walk away from it. That's not how this works. Will there be justice? I hope so. April's case is reopened. Tommy's case is, of course, certainly active and open. According to J. Edgar's crew, they figure that they've just about got this thing wrapped up. And the only reason they're going to say that is they either got nothing or they got a lot of something. My guess is they got a lot of something. They've been too busy. The FBI and the Kentucky State Police don't sit around on their hands twiddling their thumbs. That's just not how these guys work. I am personal friends with several state troopers. They cannot lay this shit down. It's like oxygen to them. They go and they go and go and try to keep going. And I know several cops that are not KSP or feds that are the same way. They're county deputies. They're city police officers. They got into this for a reason, and it damn sure wasn't the money. The money. That's a good one. Not. I knew a FBI agent years ago, long since retired. Great guy. Highly intelligent. But even he got to the point that he shook his head and he said, why in the hell do people do what they do? Because being what he did for a living, he saw the worst of the worst. You can imagine that. And that's exactly where I'm at with Tommy Ballard right now. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, how in the hell does somebody kill a guy with his grandson sitting right beside of him, standing right beside of him? Some people just really don't care that much. Well, you're going to hear all about that in the episode tonight. It's, there's parts of it that make you, mafia. Good point. There's parts of that make you wonder, maybe. I know that there was this thing in Bardstown, or is an organization called BMG, Bardstown Money Gang. And some people had thrown around the name about the, and good Lord, can't even think of it now. But it was the group of farmers who sold marijuana, and they may have gotten into the thing. I don't know. I'm sorry. The name just, brain hiccup, completely slipped me. But anyways, possibly. I can't help but wonder that maybe Crystal overheard something she wasn't supposed to hear. Things happened. Tommy was onto this. Got really close to finding out exactly where she was at, who did what, and how it happened. Trying to put together the things that are, in a court. Motive means opportunity. That's the motive. Well, the motive was if she overheard something she shouldn't have heard. The means, nobody knows how that happened because nobody's found her body. The opportunity, well, that was all over the place. Some of those answers we may never know. but I have a sneaking suspicion we will find out. I have a really strong suspicion that that's coming. Either way it goes, I don't know what the hell is going on in Bardstown, or has been. Thank God, knock on wood, there's not been anything like that happen since 2016 that I know of. But think about that there. In 14, we had Jason Ellis, or 13, yeah. Then the next year, we had Kathy and Samantha. Then after that, in 15, Crystal goes missing. And in 16, Tommy is killed. This sounds like something out of a freaking Stephen King book, because if you've ever been to Bardstown, it's beautiful. Nice place. I was there once or twice some years ago teaching a motorcycle class. When I say some years ago, yeah, this was some years ago. Matter of fact, the last year that I taught a motorcycle class, and this is odd, it occurs to me, was in November of 2016, same month and year Tommy got killed. Didn't teach that particular class around E-Town or any place like that, but that was the last time I taught a class. Got out of it after the fact because it got too political for me and too much bullshit. Loved teaching, and I loved the people I met, loved the students that I worked with. Learned as much from them as I hope they did from me. But that is just kind of an odd lineup and coincidence of numbers. That would, November of 16 is when I said, okay, no more, I'm done. And November of 16 is when Tommy lost his life. You can't help but make some of this stuff personal. And you as listeners know this. Every one of you out there have suffered loss of some kind. Some of you way more than you'll ever deserve. Nobody deserves that kind of thing. I get it. Your parents live a full, happy, rich life, I hope, and then they pass, they go. I was lucky in that. My missing them is solely a source of my own grief and my own selfishness, because I didn't want to let them go. But things were in the natural order as I think God intended it to be. So with that being said, that episode is going to drop a little bit after midnight tonight. I hope that you guys will check it out. It's called episode 18, A Father's Love. And that does wrap up, at least for the time being, the look at Bardstown that we've tried to do until something else becomes available. And I think that it may very well, and it may sooner than later now. You get enough law enforcement agencies working on something like this. You got the FBI, you had the sheriff's office, you got the Kentucky State Police. Somebody somewhere, something is going to happen, something's going to crack. And I am not by far the only podcast that has touched this. I'm one of a million. And I've heard several others that were great, put it together great. The thing about me, though, and I'm not saying that we are any better. No, I'm not saying that. What I am saying, though, is these other guys don't want to, it's very professional. These are the facts. These are what happened. And I'm cool with that. That's great. I can't help but make it personal, though. Because like I told you, every time I pass a graveyard, I don't see, oh, look, there's 117 resting places there. I see 117 people, each one with their own story. And I'm not so sure that's a good thing. I'm really not. People that listen to it, though, they seem to think so, I guess. I was in a post office the other day at work. My job requires me sometimes to go and mail things and what have you. And I was in there and walked in and saw two really lovely ladies in there. And one of them was kind enough to wait on me. Well, anyways, it was at one point because, what I do in that particular community is I try to help people with housing. And it's a great feeling when somebody who didn't have a home now has a home because you were able to help them. They did what was required with everything, and now they're getting a home. That's pretty awesome. So yeah, you kind of get to, oh yeah, well that's the guy that runs this place or that place, whatever. Kind of like the manager of a popular restaurant, or popular or not, maybe it's infamous. But anyways, they know you. So I walked in, and instead of going, oh, hey, Chris, I got the Mountain Mysteries. There's the Mountain Mysteries. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, damn, if I don't feel like a mountain mystery today, I feel like death sucking on a pack of lifesavers. I do that some days. Some days are worse than others. Some days you have bad days. Some days you have great days. Those are the ones that I live for, the great days. And then, of course, I have somebody come up to me and talk to me about something. Another tragedy, another family member or friend. And that may be something that we look into on down the road, very, very possibly. I want to, when that individual is ready to discuss it further. Like I said, I don't go poking and prodding. Feelings are sensitive enough. And thank you, Tony. Yeah, it does come from the heart with us. Some people are, well, look, if we do this episode, we're going to get this sponsor. My sponsors are my Patreon people and the people that listen to the podcast, the people that share the podcast, whether you spend a nickel or not. Those are my sponsors. Those are the people that go out there and say, hey, you got to listen to this thing. That's how we've grown. Unconfirmed, but as of right now, it's like 11,500 subscribers. And we started in March. This is July. Matter of fact, July 5th, May, March, April, May, June, July, 4 months. A little bit over a quarter of a year. Their names are getting out there. I had an astonishing thought, no thanks to a friend of mine. He said, you realize that there is just now, somebody hearing the name April Renee Pennington for the first time. Somebody just heard the name Muriel Baldridge, or I'm sorry, she liked to be called Merle Baldridge for the first time. Somebody just heard the name Dwayne Lovelace for the first time. I hadn't thought of that. We're not Warner Brothers. We're not Paramount. I'm not Tom Cruise, God knows. So we don't get that kind of boom coming March 5th, 2021. The Mountain Mysteries. No, we don't get that kind of exposure. But through people that care and people that hear about the podcast and people that actually take a few moments to listen to more than the first 60 seconds, which most of them do, according to the analytics. Most people are listening all the way through it. And then they go out and they tell Joe down the road, or they tell Sue, and they tell Jack, and they tell Jim, and they tell Pete, and it goes on and on and on. You get what I'm saying here. Next thing you know, your sister's brother's roommate from college has heard the damn thing, calls you and says, hey, how long has this thing been going on? Well, long enough right now to have 18 episodes, which is 18 weeks. And we've got 11,500 some odd. And they're just now finding out about it. So they're just hear about April. They hear about Tim Stambo. They hear about what kind of love that Sharon had for April, and that Herbie and Mildred and Marie and all of his friends had for Dwayne. And what about George? How much he loved Merrill. They hear about these 46 families that fell into the icy cold Ohio River in 1966 when the Silver Bridge collapsed. Or they hear about Amy and Jason. They hear about. See? I guess some of it plays back for me that I remember my daughter being 16. I can't imagine that hell. I remember, she's 20 right now. That's the same age Dwayne was. I can't imagine that. But yet there's something that hits me. Rips your guts out. Kicker is I never knew Dwayne personally. I certainly never knew Meryl. She passed away in 49. My dad was 4 years old at the time. I did know April. I did know Tim. But I never knew none of the 46 on the Silver Bridge. Never knew Jason Ellis. Never knew Sam or Kathy. Never knew Crystal. Never knew Tommy. Maybe that's God's way of telling me you don't have to know about somebody to care about it. Here's what I need to know. They were people. They were people. They were people. Different stories, different backgrounds, different lives. April hadn't even started her life. She was 16. Still had a couple of years to go in high school. Tim was out of high school working as a gas station attendant / mechanic. Dwayne was 20 years old, hadn't even had a chance to live. But I tell you what they've all got in common. And maybe this is what gets me. Man, they made a hell of an impact. They made one hell of an impact. You remember that little pebble in the water that I talked about so many times on different episodes? Well, let's forget the pebble in the water. These people were boulders falling into water. It was huge splashes. April at 16, Dwayne at 20, Meryl at 7. People said that Meryl Baldridge had a smile that lit up a room and just made people feel naturally wanted, accepted, and loved and cared for. That's a gift I never did get. But she had it. The world needs more people like that today. They need more Dwaynes. They need more. Dwayne just struck me as somebody that could just make you laugh your ass off without even trying. He was just a great guy to be around. April, I know for a fact she was 1 in a million. So was Tim. All these people. You don't have to know about them to care. Apparently that's true. So, you know, I got to give props to somebody. Arrow Wilson, who is our tech support. Arrow has been doing a lot of research for us to help me out because really he is making it to where it's all I got to do. And in the course of a few days, turn out an episode that is awesome, great quality. And we're all for doing them in Kentucky and right here in our region, but we're getting bigger. We've got some coming up in Russia, some coming up that take us to Colorado, some coming up that take us all over the place. Like we said, we're not just Kentucky. We're the mountain mysteries, and there's mountains all over the place. Hell, there's mountains in Colombia. If I go down there, I know what I'm getting. Oh, snap. Get your mind out of the gutter. I'm not talking about fairy dust. I'm talking about Buenos dias, Juan Valdez. Yeah, the coffee is pretty awesome. These things are available too. And you also got them on the website that they'll change color once you put a liquid in them. That is the mountainmysteriespodcast.com. And you can listen to our episodes on there and do all of that stuff. Swish, there it is. The mountainmysteriespodcast.com. T-shirts. This is something else. If you guys don't care to spread the word, because I know not everybody's watching right now. If you have gotten a Mountain Mysteries T-shirt, would you care to wear it, take a photo, a selfie, and send it to us? You can send it to us on the Facebook Messenger. Or if you want, you can contact us at, I think it's the Mountain Mysteries at yahoo.com or gmail.com, maybe both. And of course, you can send it to us through the mountainmysteriespodcast.com right there on our website. And what I'd like to do is on our videos, when we open up the gatherings, is feature your pictures on there. Because you see, as much as the Mountain Mysteries is about those we've lost and those we love, it's also about those who are left, those who are that we still love, those who are fighting that fight. those who keep hope alive, those who pray for justice, those who want justice for the people that they've loved and lost. I would really love if you guys could do that. And I know a lot of you guys have gotten some shirts and stuff from us. I know Katina has, I know Stacy has, Sharon. My tech advisor, Arrow, actually went out and as soon as it became available, bought the first, I call it a windbreaker. And that thing just looks awesome in real life. Logo's plenty big enough to see. It's waterproof, wind resistant. You can fold it up into its own little pouch. It's got, the hoodie on the back that you can put back into the collar, and the drawstrings with the hoodie that have like the little, like the little balls on them that you push in, and you can adjust the length of the string and all that. They're just awesome. And I think he said he paid like $40 for it, 45, something like that. All I did was just say, see if you can make a few bucks off of each one of them so it can support paying for the podcast and the stuff that we got to do and the travel that we got to do sometimes. So, like I said, though, tonight, A Father's Love, episode 18. Next week, Laney Gwinner, episode 19. And that one, by the way, the Laney Gwinner one, that's all Arrow. He done the research for it, wrote the script. I get to be the guy that's fortunate enough to sit down and voice it and produce it and put it together. So it's a blessing. I've got a great son-in-law. I've got a beautiful daughter. And, it's things that some of you guys have went through that remind me quite often of how fortunate and lucky I am to have my daughter and to have her be happy and healthy and to have her also be a part of what we do here. And she's a big inspiration. She really is. So, we've got several others lined up too that are coming up. I always thought it was a joke, but apparently the legend is real. Anyways, the Goat Man of Kentucky. Of course, the first time I was told about it, I couldn't help but think of the guy on Saturday Night Live, Goat Boy. No, I'm not going to try to do the impersonation, but most of you guys know who I'm talking about. But that was pretty cool. So we've got that coming up, and we are actually planning on taking a trip there. And yes, this is going to be a blur coming soon, but we are also probably going to do an episode of it that may be one of the first times that we actually stream live. Waverly Hills. Yeah, we've been talking about it. So, and apparently that's a pretty big deal. I just want to make sure that nobody comes back with something stuck on the bottom of their shoe like a stick of Wrigley's. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I don't want I don't want any attachments. So I want to make sure that, and because yes, I do believe that. I know it's real. Yeah, I don't want to go up there and come back with an extra guest or visitor. So, but a lot of people I've gotten several messages about it. Hey, what about Waverly? And of course, something else. I've been bombarded. Well, I'm not going to say bombarded, but I've had several messages and I welcome those. That's fine. About the missing lady in Floyd County, Candy Gonzalez. I actually read a poll. It had several choices. Of course, I didn't participate in it because, like I said, I don't know much about it right now. But a lot of people are pointing to the person she was dating had something to do with it. I don't know if that's true. I have no idea. But we have began asking questions and looking into it, and that's how things start. Is, when they start approaching you about this and say, look, there's something fishy, there's something hinky. Well, maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I don't know. But I do think that there's something kind of odd about a girl that goes missing, trying to run barefoot through the hills, no less, through briar patches, and God knows what's in the hills or in the mountains. Last time she was seen, if I'm not mistaken, was June 1st. This is what, July, at the time I'm doing this live, it's July 8th. June has 30 days in it? So we're talking 38 days, not a sound. Human body can go for 7 days without water, and you're pushing it. You can go a little longer without food, but without water, come on. Nobody's seen or heard from her. It's fitting the criteria for a mountain mystery. And I don't know anybody in the family, but I can do it I can do an episode to help her if I can, whatever help that would offer, because she is a person. She's a human being. Maybe that's the biggest prerequisite of all is that they're people. I don't have to know them. I didn't know Dwayne. Knew his grandma. Know his grandma. But I didn't, you know, Sharon and I had not really talked a great deal before we did this with April, and now she's family. You get where I'm going with this. So, yeah, that's something I really wanted to address tonight, and you know how I sway sometimes. Because none of this on the gatherings is scripted. The blurs, somewhat. The podcasts are mostly scripted to some degree. But none of this that we do live here, this is all off the cuff. And like Tony said earlier, it's straight from the heart. But if I can do something to help find her, to bring peace to someone, to bring peace to the people that cared about her, then that helps me. And it helps me by saying, okay, what we're doing is worthwhile. Not that I need to be reassured of that. I already know it. But sometimes being reminded of it is never a bad thing. One last check. Okay, so a big hi to Bobby. She says, Waverly is on my bucket list to cross off. Be careful. You go to Waverly, they may make that bucket list. They may put it right that bucket in front of you. I've never known of anybody getting killed going to Waverly. I had a pretty decent quasi friendship with Keith Age, and I've never known Keith to tell me anything but the truth. And he actually showed me the scars. He was going through Waverly one time, and a damn brick came out of the wall and hit him in the head. And that's no joke. Keith is also very gifted. He's very good at what he did or what he does. But yeah, Waverly is one of those things that make sure that you know who's going to answer when you go knocking on the devil's door. Most of the spirits that inhabit that place, I feel, are residents who died a horrible, tragic death due to what back in the day, that day they called consumption. And it's actually tuberculosis is what we call it now. But that is a horrible way to die. And with that being said, I think that a lot of hauntings are a result of tragic deaths. Some can be sudden, some can be drawn out. But yeah, we are going to look at doing one on Waverly and quite possibly others. The only one that I will not literally get on the plane and fly close to, well, that would be 112 Ocean Avenue, Amityville, New York. What Tony had told me, Tony was Lorraine's stepson. That's as close to hell as I ever want to get, is what Lorraine had said to Ed. Now, for Lorraine Warren to say that, and we're talking about a woman that, went into some pretty rough situations, but for her to say that, well, I'm going to be frankly honest with you, scares the hell out of me. Now, from what I've been told, address change, those creepy little windows aren't there anymore. But nobody's had any problem since the Lutz fled. Since the Lutzes got out of the house. Or at least if they have, they've kept it quiet. But, I don't know exactly how many owners have gone through it since then. Maybe that's some good information to have. Because normally somebody moves in, 30 days later they move out, there's a problem. But if somebody's been living there all this time since and they're like, no, we've not had any problems. Well, I don't know. That would lend to people saying that the Lutzes said and did that for money. But I just got a feeling in me that's not the case. And that's all it is. It's a feeling. It's nothing more. It's just one of those feelings. Then, of course, I add to the fact that Lorraine said, yeah, there was something there. Or actually, Lorraine didn't say that to me. She told Tony. Tony told me. Because she would not talk about it with me. And she'd talk about anything else except that. She was still scared of that at the time. Why? Well, obvious reason. Yeah, you can put it together. So, a little bit after midnight tonight. Check it out on Spotify. And if you guys don't care on Apple, leave us a great review. Give us a 5-star rating. That's what's gotten us all these people coming in, because people search for stuff like this, paranormal, true crime, whatever. And we do pop up, thank God. And people see the ratings. You know, you look at ratings that are 5 stars, you get a little curious, and you may listen. Then all of a sudden you hear about April, you hear about Tim, you hear about Dwayne, you hear about all these people, you hear about Jason, you hear about Crystal. Yeah, you get where I'm going with this. That's the big reason that we do it. That's all the reason I need. Because there's something about it when a family member either adopts you, or you get a hug from somebody saying thank you, or I don't know, any reason, anything that does anything to help somebody else. Well, that's all the reason I need. It's good enough for me. We'll figure it out. We'll make it happen. The mountainmysteriespodcast.com. Blurs every Sunday. If you're a Patreon member, you get the blurs. And hopefully, I think it's for the $5 tier and up now. And hopefully you've checked out last week, which was done just for the 4th of July. It was the Ghost of the Past, and it was about the ghosts of what possibly is our nation's most sacred and hallowed ground, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Thousands of Americans died there. No wonder it's so sacred. And over what? Some said slavery, some said states' rights. I'm not going to argue with either. All I know is a lot of people died there. A lot of good people, I'm sure, on both sides. Confederate and federal, or Union, as you may want to call it. But hopefully you'll join up with us on Patreon, and you'll get to hear that. It was really something unique. About 30 minutes long, or somewhere in there. But definitely longer than the average blur. But it was, man, it's pretty cool. And I really enjoyed doing that one. So as we end most of our get-togethers, our gatherings, as it were, thank you so much for being here. God bless you. Love you all. Wish you a wonderful weekend, a wonderful week. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, and stay mysterious.
From one coast to the other, mysteries are everywhere, and we will continue to pursue the answers to those questions and more. Please share, like, and rate the Mountain Mysteries podcast, and tell your friends to tune in on Facebook or YouTube. The Mountain Mysteries gatherings are each Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you'd like to support the Mountain Mysteries, search and help these families, join us on Patreon, or you can make a one-time donation as well. The Mountain Mysteries and the Mountain Mysteries gatherings are property of the Pantry Studios and Chris Sloan, who writes and produces the content. If you would like to reach out to the Mountain Mysteries, please email us at pantrystudio@yahoo.com. Until next time, my friends, stay mysterious.
Pantry Studio production.